What is being forecast will lead to a silver crisis, of which will have a dramatic impact in reshaping the entire market. Let's talk about it and how we can prepare as we explore. You know, there's little that we can talk about that hasn't already been a radical shift in so many different ways with regards to geopolitics, domestic politics, but as well as markets in general. Stock market reaching an all-time high, tariffs, Federal Reserve actions, unprecedented this, unprecedented that. Well, I think this may pale in comparison to what's coming in the silver market that will change not only the price, but also the entire market. And I'm not just talking about the silver market either. So what's happening here is there is industrial demand growth that is going to be outstripping supply. And that may sound like a story you've heard before, but it's more serious than you may think, and more serious than what I may think too, if what this is being proposed and how this is being presented happens to be true, according to news.metal.com. But remember how long it takes and what the prices are going to do from here until then. And when is then, by the way? Well, that remains to be seen. Until then, we should remain calm and carry on and stack on according to our budgets and our understanding of the market. Because remember, things have been predicted before and they have not come true in terms of price. Summit Metals is a channel sponsor. They have got a great selection, amazing customer service, and fast shipping. So check them out. Elevate your wealth with Summit Metals. So this article goes on to talk about this supply deficit that we're seeing and how this is going to reshape the market. And it really is pretty amazing what's been happening up until this point. And we have history, recent history, as a guide as to what could shape the future. This is why I'm taking this seriously. The silver market is experiencing a fundamental transformation driven by increasing industrial applications and persistent supply constraints, the article begins. With a structural deficit where demand consistently outpaces available supply, presents a significant shift in market dynamics rather than a temporary commodity cycle. That's the important thing we got to understand. We have a track record now of a few years, about 5 right now. We're in the 5th year. Global silver mine supply has contracted at a 0.9% compounded annual growth rate since 2020, creating favorable conditions for strategic investments in this sector. In other words, not just stacking silver, but the miners and a lot of industries that are centered around silver. According to the Silver Institute's World Silver Survey 2023, silver demand exceeded supply by 237.7 million ounces in 2022. With industrial demand reaching 508.6 million ounces, representing a 48% of total demand. This imbalance has led to a declining above-ground inventories from historic peaks as consumption accelerates across multiple sectors. The global transition towards renewable energy and electrification has positioned silver as a critical material for modern infrastructure. And that word critical is a buzzword nowadays, as I have reported on. One of the first to report on this in this community is that silver is being considered as a strategic mineral, a strategic element by the United States Geological Survey in a draft. So that is another thing we have to take into account here. More and more people and even central banks and nations are trying to accumulate more silver. And we know a lot of those reasons why. So solar photovoltaic installations now consume approximately 15% of annual silver supply, with demand projected to increase as renewable energy adoption accelerates worldwide. Each solar panel contains approximately 20 grams of silver, and with global installations projected to reach 191 gigawatts, according to the International Energy Agency, this application alone creates substantial demand pressure. Silver's unmatched electrical conductivity properties exceed all other elements, make it irreplaceable in high-performance applications where efficiency is paramount. Now, as a side note, graphene is being developed that could be the one true competitor to silver, but we are long ways out from that becoming a reality anytime soon. Even with some of the latest developments that give some promising timelines as to when it could come aboard, well, retooling and refitting and mass producing graphene is really a huge hurdle that nobody sees happening anytime soon. This unique characteristic creates price inelastic demand, meaning manufacturers cannot easily substitute alternative materials when prices fluctuate. Now, we know that silver's role in electronics manufacturing extends beyond traditional applications into emerging technologies. The metal's unique properties support electric vehicle production, which requires 25 to 50 grams per vehicle, with the Tesla Model 3 containing approximately 1 ounce. I reported on there earlier, this is where that source is. I thought it was more than that, but that is indeed it. A 5G infrastructure deployment using silver and connection components expected to reach 13 million base stations globally by the end of this year. Medical technology applications leveraging silver's antimicrobial properties with 99.9% effectiveness against bacteria. Advanced electronics with increasing complex circuitry require superior conductivity. These applications create price inelastic consumption patterns. Some of them are recession resistant. Then we got to throw in military use. No one knows how much silver they're using, but you can bet your bottom dollar it's at least the same amount per rate per application used on the commercial side. So this is pretty amazing when we're seeing this kind of demand, and it's only picking up. And there's 10,000 uses for silver, and that's only increasing. And so it just goes to show you that silver is indeed in demand, and the demand is not going to slow down anytime soon. Even if there's an economic slowdown, I think there's going to be a pickup in silver and some of the quantitative easing projects and the money spent government projects to try to get the economy going again, but also with regards to medical and some of these technology where governments are funding it. So there are factors that are constraining silver supply. There are some challenges that exacerbate this problem. The mining sector faces significant hurdles in bringing new silver production online. Permitting timelines in primary jurisdictions now average 7 to 10 years, according to the Fraser Institute. Declining ore grades have decreased by approximately 30% over the past decade. Remember, there's less and less primary silver miners out there now. The vast majority of silver is mined as a byproduct of other metals. By the way, if you enjoy what I do here, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel and pressing the notifications bell so that you can be apprised of the latest video that makes its way across your device. I like to bring you the latest news and analysis in the world of silver, so stay tuned to this channel. And then we also have environmental and social considerations that create additional development hurdles. And then capital allocation constraints following previous market downturns. That could come up again too. So yes, if there is a massive recession and a global recession, well, there may be less demand for silver in some aspects of the economy, but you know there's going to be less impetus for silver mining. And so these factors create substantial barriers to capacity expansion, with new projects facing extended development timelines before contributing meaningful production volumes. The combination of technical challenges and regulatory requirements has significantly impacted the industry's ability to respond to increasing demand signals. You cannot print silver, folks. They can print these all day long, and it's going to devalue the value of these. But silver will maintain its value at the very least, if not gain value, especially if it's needed more. And the price will reflect that. It has no choice to some degree. I don't know what that price would be, but it is going to change so much. And I'm going to tell you more about that in a moment. But regulatory approval bottlenecks we're going to see, and all these other factors that we've come into play here essentially mean that we are at a point where there's a lot of different challenges and scenarios that are going to be coming across our way that's going to require silver. And so we're going to have to deal with it in some way, shape, or manner, or form. But the convergence of accelerating industrial demand and persistent supply constraints creates compelling investment opportunities in the silver sector, and not just as a stacker to preserve your wealth as a hedge against inflation, but there may be some opportunities with investment as well because of what's happening with the structural deficit, not a cyclical deficit, but a structural deficit. We've seen a pattern of this now for the last 4 years. We're in the 5th year now of supply constraints. And even if it goes at the same pace or even a little bit less, it's still something that's going to put pressure on the market in general. And what will change? Well, the price will go up. That's number one. We talked about that. And how far it will go up, I don't know. But it's going to be north of here, that's for sure. North of where we're at, around $39 as I record this video. And if we see $45 in the next 2 years, that's still a lot higher than it was not that long ago. It's just been an amazing ride for silver, and I think we're starting to see new support for that price. And that means, along with everything else becoming expensive, finally silver will become more expensive. And but the other thing is how you can actually source this silver. If there's a supply deficit, a squeeze, an actual extended market squeeze, much like we have seen, but maybe even amplified a bit, that's going to put real pressure on the bullion sector, where there is a glut of material out there. There's a lot of these bars and coins and rounds available for you and I, and including constitutional silverware and that type of thing that's been flooding into local coin shops, but also in turn sent off to refiners. Some of these shops have got to turn it over very quickly, and so they're doing that when they have a whole lot of it in there, and they're sending it off to be melted by refiners or by agencies that will send them to the refiner, because it becomes a risk for them to hold so much of it. So that will be met, and the refiners and other entities will pay more for silver that comes through the shop, which is one of the reasons why I believe in the Stop the Melt campaign. Started by CoinShop Chris, because this is something that's valuable, and they're not going to make any more of this stuff. Constitutional silver is something we should hold on to for dear life, because it very well could be money again to actually transact. There's enough of it out there that it could work in that environment. It's the best way, especially when silver gets expensive, to buy silver. So get yourself some constitutional silver, indeed. That's I think quite invaluable. Look at how that's sticking there. But nonetheless, that is another change where the supplies are going to be disrupted, and they're going to have to squeeze every little tenth of an ounce of silver from whatever source they can get. You're going to see recycling pick up more and more, and it's going to be more efficient, and it's going to be cheaper to do, which means they're going to find a way to efficiently recycle solar panels. I talked about that in a recent video. So you're going to see some of that stuff move, and silver is going to become a valuable commodity in that sector, and they're going to do whatever they can to get it for as cheap as they can. So you're going to find that balance, and that's going to change the market dynamics as well, and it's going to create potentially new recycling industry centered around silver specifically because of all of its uses and how much demand it's going to be. Someone comes up with a magical way to be able to efficiently recycle silver from a variety of different sources, they're going to be very wealthy because it's going to be very much needed. Remember, silver never goes away. It's just a matter of the challenge of getting it out of where it is now, especially out of old cell phones, computers, solar panels, all that stuff does have a shelf life. Essentially, it has a use life. Eventually, those things are upgraded and they're turned over every 2-3 years. And so, getting the silver back out of it, well, you're going to see the mining of landfills, I think, in due course, and not only be able to mine silver, but copper and other metals as well too. Because rare earths and all that stuff is becoming a lot more valuable these days, and silver is the most valuable of them all with regards to that. So there you have it. That is the dramatic shift that will come when we see a silver crisis. And I believe we're going to see a silver crisis at hand. And all of these technologies and all these changes will take place, which I think in many ways are more important than what the price conceivably could be. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.